Okay, gang. Hello, David, and hello, Tiffany. It's your saltwater guide, Captain Dave Hansen, and we are still live down on the Baja. We're driving down to Cabo, but I don't want to miss out on any of these podcasts. So today we got David Bacon and his daughter Tiffany, who is with us every Thursday. Tiffany's a part of the show, and she's with us every Thursday. Today she's going to talk about the chevron wrap, the reverse chevron wrap, all the cool things she's got going on. I'll pop in and out throughout the show, make sure these guys are doing a good job. But, you know, it's kind of important to be out there fishing right now, David and Tiffany.
Oh, yeah.
Did you say kind of important? No. It's ultimately important. After all, we've got our priorities.
Exactly. And the boss is sitting here hoping and praying that I get done with this quick because he wants to fish. So thank you guys for joining us. And thank you, everybody that's watching. And hit the like button, subscribe button. And here we go. Let's go, Tiffany. Tell us what we're doing today.
Well, one of the things that a lot of people ask me about is how to read cross-wrap patterns. And it's something you need to know if you're going to do cross-wrap patterns on your builds. And there's many different cross-wrap patterns out there, from basic diamond wraps to more extravagant ones. But once you grasp and really learn how to read cross-wrap patterns, all other cross-wrap patterns will eventually look simple and you can easily do them. I feel you really need to learn from the beginning, not trying to jump into the hard stuff first without really learning the basics of stuff. And you guys will probably laugh at this one and understand it. It's kind of like handing someone the keys to your boat before they learn that boats don't turn like cars. Yet they want to cast off and run the boat with no knowledge on how to turn your boat or how to do anything. And I've seen people in the harbor do this, and it gets crazy, just like trying to learn how to do something backwards. In the harbor, it becomes bumper boats when they do this. And you can put people in very dangerous situations doing that. And it has a steering wheel mechanism on the boats like a car, but as you know, it doesn't work exactly like a car. And in a car, you know, you can't stop on a dime, and your turns, well, your butt kind of drifts. And some people just don't get that. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like the same concept. You want to learn from the basics before jumping in hardcore to the hard stuff. On the pattern, I'm going to show you, this one's pretty basic. You should know the basic fundamentals of rod building before doing this, and you should have your spaces already marked out before rolling your thread for this pattern. If Dave can put the first picture up.
Dave may be fishing outside the cabin.
Oh, we'll have to wait. Oh, thank you.
He did it. That's the last one. That's the second one.
There we go. There we go. Okay. So if you look at this first picture, it's got numbers and colors. So in this first picture, you see where the black circle is with the number 4. That's going to tell you the color they're doing it is in black, obviously. But you can use whatever color you want. Now, the number 4 tells you how many total numbers of threads are going to be in these passes, creating this X. So if you look at the +2 with the arrow symbols and the arrows going on like both sides, if you look at that, you're going to be making 2 passes from the right to the left and 2 passes from the left to the right, going over your thread where you put your mark. Now, understand why I say 2 passes is because a lot of people have, when they make their marks, the first mark, they're going to skip over the first round, and then they'll go back and do a second pass going back over the marks that they didn't go over. So that's what I mean by 2 passes. But in this picture, you're looking at just the basic pattern of it. And it's hard to see with the black, but if you look at the next picture where it says it has the color light blue and 8 on it, You're going to get a better idea of how the numbers work in this particular pattern and how the arrows are only going to the right. This tells you that you're now going to work this color to the right side of that of your dot. So you only work for the right, and there's 8. You're going to have a total of 8 threads. But if you really look at the way the threads are going, you're going to see that they are single threads. They're not 8 threads altogether. Although you can do it that way, it's totally up to you. But you want to make sure that, you know, if you're going to do a pattern and have the look the same way it does, then you're going to, on this one, it's going to be single threads. So what you're going to do here, as it shows you, starting on the right-hand side, you're going to go from the right to the left, and you're going to go right alongside of that black. A lot of people will call this going under. However, it's not going under the black thread where the blue's not showing. You're snugging it right up against it. So you're going to go right to left under 1 thread, and then you're going to go left to right over 1 thread. And you're going to repeat that process 8 times. All going from the, you know, from the center of the of your X, moving it to the right. Now, if you look at the if you look at the 10 black, it's the exact same process. You're going to have 10 threads working to your right, and you're going to be starting. If you look at the pattern again, like on the number 8, you can see which one they start and which one they finish. Same pattern here. You start from the right and you go all the way down from right to left under, and then you go from the left and you go left to right over. You know, so it's basically just a pattern that you're continually doing over and over. You can choose to do, you know, 2 threads, you can do 4 threads, you can do 8 threads, you know, on the blue. This is just an idea of how many threads in this particular pattern that they're doing. And
you know, that really adds like a 3D effect once you get the black and the blue and then the black again. Like Arnie's comment when he says, "Wow, that gives the wrap depth." You know, that really does. And maybe with a brighter color or something to finish it, it would be depth and pop.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of different colors you can use to, you know, make it more bold and stuff. This particular pattern, this person just used, you know, very, very simple way to start. As you start growing, you know, building on towards the right, you're going to see where the colors cross each other, and it kind of creates, in the lighter colors, gets more in depth where you can actually see that chevron. Where when you get into the blacks, the black kind of hides stuff, so you're not going to see, you know, full details of black, of what the black does. If Dave's around, if he can move it to the next picture, please.
What did you say?
Could you please put the next picture on, please? Thank you. Okay, so now if you look at the top picture, again here, it has, you know, the number 8 and a blue. So it's the same concept here that we're going to be doing. They're using single strand threads for each pass, starting from the right and rolling to the left, going under the black, then going from left to right, going over the black, and they're doing this 8 times. So again, the arrow tells you which way you're going, and the number tells you how many threads total to make it that way, how many passes, or not how many passes, how many threads you're using. The next one is one black. And this is where it's used. A lot of people will use this to separate a highlight in black before metallic color or before they change and reverse the colors. That's something that I like to do. I use a little bit more less of the color numbers that they have, and you can use, whatever you want. But in this case, they're using the black, separating the chevron of this type and making a highlight, which kind of makes it pop out more. And it's, like I said, it's your choice to do this. So it's the same pattern. This one has, on the metallic, has 6, and you're still going to the right. But if you look at the pattern again, how they did it here, you can see that they started from the right going to the left, and from the left going to the right, and they repeat that 6 times. So, it's just, repeat pattern, repeat pattern, repeat pattern. And then on the bottom one, it's basically a highlight two strands of black they use, with the arrow showing you're continuing this pattern to the right, starting from the right to the left under, and then the left to right over. And you're going to repeat that 2 times, single thread 2 times in this pattern. Now, the next part is where it can get a little bit tricky, and it's important to the pattern. All those color strands you did, normally the way I do it is going to just be reversed. So before I would continue on my chevron wraps, a lot of people like me to reverse it, where I use the same number, the same color, just reversed here. So after the metallic, I would go back to the light blue, black, and light blue again. A lot of times, though, I won't use this many, this many strands in a color. A lot of times people want me to do 2 strands of one color, 2 strands of another color, 2 strands of another color, and keep going on until I end it before I reverse the whole thing. So the numbers and how many threads you use, how many strands you use, that's totally up to you. Dave, can you put the last picture on if you got a moment, please? Thank you. That was fast. Now here is where it gets kind of tricky. If you decide to do it this way, like I said before, I normally will go working my way this way, but after the metallic, I'll go back and reverse it, going the opposite way with whatever colors I'm using. So before I do the reverse. In this picture, it's showing the reverse pattern, 4 strands of blue that they're using, but now they're working it to the left instead of continuing on to the right. This is where the reverse happens. It starts left to right over instead of going under, and then it goes left to right under instead of going over, like the first round when you're working to the right end of it. Now, all cross wraps have the same number or directions, and it's important to read what direction you're supposed to be going and how many strands it's asking for. Also note that you do not have to follow the numbers they use. The 4 could be 2 of one color and 2 of another color, or the 8 or the 10. It's totally up to you. Each time you switch up the number of strands and colors, it will give it a different look. It can either go more fuller or it can go thinner, depending on how many strands and how many different colors that you make it up. For instance, I like to do, if I'm going to do a fade, I'll do 2 strands of a powder baby blue, 2 strands of a little darker blue, 2 strands of another darker blue, 2 strands of another one, totaling 8 strands, but they're totally different colors. There's like 4 sets of different colors. Or sometimes I'll bring it down to where I only do, a total of 4 strands of 2 colors. It's totally up to you. You can do less, you can do more, you can create a different look. That's totally up to you. You can play around with the numbers and directions and come up with your own number and color pattern. You can do fades where your colors start out light and go into the dark color, or you can go the opposite direction and go light to dark. Or you can choose random colors and come up with something crazy. And I have been working forever, my whole life, trying to come up with the ugliest reverse chevron lap humanly possible to make. And my dad can share some stories with you on that and what has happened with me on that. But the point I'm trying to make is that you can change the look just by simply the number combinations and the color combinations that you do. If you space them smaller apart, it's going to give it a different shape than if you space them further apart. You can either compact them, have them short looking or elongated. Just all depends on the spacing of the pattern that you create. These are just basic steps that you should really learn. Have fun with it. Also, you should go on to, if you're not already on there, go on to your Saltwater Guides website. We have a rod building community in there. Post your builds, ask questions. If you know the answers, give the answers that people are asking. If you're new to rod building or even have a rod building business, get on there. I mean, it's a huge opportunity for everybody to unite in this community and learn from each other. And I post stuff up on, tidbits on tricks and stuff on the website. And I'm hoping to grow the community and have it to where everybody's learning something from everybody. Yes, I'll let you cut in. Sorry, I got on a roll on this.
A thought on that. Tiffany, you're talking about the value of coming together in the forum and trading and whatnot. And one interesting fact about fisher folks is that fishing folks tend to get a little secretive about some things. Maybe all things. Okay. But when Captain Tiffany went to the international rod building competition and won, she was one of the 10 top rod builders in the world. And what they did is they put those 10 people together and they formed their own little 10-person community. And at that level, as you gain in your skill sets, the need for secrecy seems to melt. And the beauty of that group of 10 people who are all just magnificent rod builders is that they were totally happy to share what they had figured out how to do and to help each other along. And somebody could really post a question that they might be a little embarrassed that somebody else might feel is kind of a dumb bunny question, but they'd put it there and everybody else would just chip in and offer suggestions and solutions. And so with that spirit in mind, I think all of us going on to that forum that Tiffany is managing for Captain Dave, the rod building forum, and just pouring ourselves into it, really that's going to be a rising tide that floats all ships in terms of skill sets and things you can do. So kind of stow the secretive part and come together and really just help the whole community grow, and everyone benefits from that. It worked at the international level, and it can work at the lower level, local level as well. So I think, I'm gonna support what Captain Tiffany is saying here. Go to that forum and get involved.
Absolutely. The forum itself is, it's perfect for not just rod building, but all forms of different types of fishing. Captain Dave's done just an incredible job on his website, as well as all the different podcasts that he does. The guy works crazy amount of time. I thought we did until I seen all the stuff that he does, the podcast for several types of fishing. Just really teaches people and shows people, not just hearing about that this person caught this fish, that person caught that fish. I mean, he actually sits down with several different captains and shows them how to fish for these things. And you really don't get such a variety of things in a website or in podcasts that he does, like this, where you have fishing techniques, game plans, what different things look like, what you're supposed to do, and then rod building, everything with fishing combined into one. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's great to have community. Community just brings stuff together, and it's sort of like, I've been writing fishing articles for a very long time. We'll just put it that way, for a lot of different publications. And what always fascinated me was Captain Tiffany and I go out there, run our charter boat all day long, catch a bunch of fish or help people catch a bunch of fish. I'd come home and I'd start writing an article about it. And it always frequently in the course of writing that article, it's like light bulbs would go off over my head and go, oh yeah, guy, why didn't I try that pattern or that lure or whatever? And so just that creativity helped make us better anglers out on the water. And the same thing here with bringing multiple minds together like this into this little community. Everyone is going to find that your growth is accelerated. It's just a higher learning curve upwards. It's going to be good for everybody.
Yeah. Hopefully, if Dave's not fishing or reeling in a fish at this time, when he gets a chance, I would like to show one of my students' work. His name's Duncan. He's one of my Canadian students. Oh, wow. You better be catching fish, not just fishing. This is the reverse chevron pattern that I just went over and just showed you guys. I did this in Sunday's class of last week of showing, teaching people how to read the patterns using the reverse chevron pattern. And the homework was everybody goes and creates a chevron pattern. And this is what he came up with right off the bat, which is pretty much to a T. I mean, just gorgeous work. Him and Lisa are like side by side with their work. But yeah, if you follow the patterns and know the numbers, like I showed you a little bit ago, this is something exactly what you would come up with. Yes, Dad.
I was just looking at that, remembering a rod you built for a customer some years ago. And the pattern was kind of similar to this. But the difference was in the gaps between the cross wraps. In each gap, you put a little Minnie Mouse.
Oh, yes.
for this lady angler. And, we kept hearing for years after that rod got so much attention every time they went out on a boat, So here's skill stuff right there, right? But once you master the skill stuff, you can still go ahead and be creative and make it into like just funny stuff, cartoon stuff, just artistic stuff. There's still more that you can do if you don't mind busying up the rod a little bit more to create some extra flair, we'll call it.
Well, she was like me, Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse, number one in the world, Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse. And so I remember she had me do a weave with Mickey Mouse. And then you can also use stickers if you don't have, how to do weaves, and you can put them in between if you don't close up the chevron wrap. You can also do, my student chose not to do a base wrap, to just do the reverse chevron wrap over his blank, which is perfectly fine. As you can see, came out beautiful. But you could do stickers in between, tiny stickers, or you can weave and then do the chevron wrap over it. So it gives each of the pictures a border type, like a picture frame almost. There's just lots and lots of different things that you can do with the chevron wraps. Some people like to do them plain, like this one. Some people like to marble and then do a chevron wrap over it. I mean, you can combine many different techniques and different styles, and then put the reverse chevron wrap over it. It's totally up to you, but some people come up with just extravagant stuff.
I'm thinking how a dragon scale base with those cross wraps over it would look. That would be an attractive rod.
Yeah, that makes it kind of makes the reverse chevron look have be the picture frame, and then you got the dragon scale underneath it with the metallic. It really will pop out. So you don't have one longigated type of dragon scale from beginning to end. It's look at little picture frames going along, so it sticks out, and then it's a picture frame, stick out, then a picture frame. You know what I mean? It looks incredible what we can do with stuff.
Yeah.
Hold on 1 second. Let me show this video real quick.
Okay.
Well, alrighty, gang. FishingBooker.com. If you're anywhere on the planet and you want to go fishing, and I know y'all do, or you wouldn't be watching this show, wherever you are, go to FishingBooker.com, put in how many people you have, and exactly where you're at, and they'll find a boat. They'll find the best guides on the planet to take you out fishing to make your vacation even more than it already is. FishingBooker.com has a guide and a boat for you and your family. Go to FishingBooker.com, and at the end of this, look at the QR code. Use that QR code, and you'll save $50 off your next Fishing Booker trip.
$50 off. Boy, that's pretty nice. I like that.
If you use that QR code, you can save $50 on your next trip. So check out FishingBooker.com and hit it, Tiffany.
I think the reverse chevron wraps, you can have all sorts of designs with it. Rasta colors, doing the roster colors, reverse the rasta colors, fades. One of the ones that I like doing the most of, that's the most fun, but it is time consuming on the reverse chevron wraps, is if you know how to do olive branches, then you can do different colors doing the olive branch, but wrapping it into the reverse chevron wrap. So you can do even fades. I've done that before. Fades of the olive branches. And then I went from the fades with the olive branches to making it into the reverse chevron wrap as I went along. You can go crazy if you want. Some of it's time consuming, but to me, it's worth coming up with something that's different than what everybody has.
Yeah. What you're talking about that's kind of advanced cross wrapping and whatnot, but boy, you spend the time doing it and you take that rod out and you fish with it, and everybody around you is kind of looking over at your rod and whatnot. And it's, that gives you a good feeling.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, especially the students taking them into the different shows that we do, kind of helping them get their names out there. When they start selling the rods, and when they start really going from one show where they first started selling their blanks, like the one that we have coming up in April, and then the next show they do, the new stuff that they have on. It's a big difference they see with the chevron wraps, with the colors that they come up with, the contrast that they come up with, the way they build it. You'll look at a chevron wrap that you did 2 years ago to a different formation of a chevron wrap that you did, say, a week ago. And that's a huge difference in the way they look like. You can have the same pattern, kind of like the diamond wrap. You can have the same pattern, have 4 different ones with the same pattern, but different colors, and they all look different. Yeah, Lisa, it's I'll show you. I'll show you. It's that whole concept. It comes out just beautiful, especially with different colors of the faded of the olive branches. It creates something completely unique and different.
Fades are magic. I mean, so, some of the things I've seen you do with fades, it just, God, they're just gorgeous rods. You know, Tiffany, maybe at these various shows we do, and at some of the shows we're like right next to Captain Dave, right? And maybe some of these shows, what we should do is have your students bring some of their best work that you've taught them how to do, and then they've built their skill sets on from what you've taught them and advanced. Have them bring in some of their best work and do something like a public input, which rod strikes the public fancy the best.
You mean like
something like that?
You mean like what we did some of the fundraisers where it's people's choice?
People's choice.
Like a tournament, sort of.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Among your students.
We'll have to talk Captain Dave Hansen in that.
You can talk them into it. I got faith in you, you know.
Maybe come up with something for the winner or something like that. What do the people here think? Lisa, you want to do a tournament? It'll be fun. Yeah, we should work on that. And then I can talk to some of the manufacturers, and maybe a prize or something goes out to the person that has the most votes. Like at the PCS show, maybe.
Yeah. PCS show, the California Boat Show, and April, and possibly
West Coast,
the Ventura show in May or whenever it is.
I think that's in May. I just don't have the dates right on the top of my head, but I think it's in May.
Yeah, we're still early enough in the calendar to have time to think about that and put together a plan if your students want to get involved and bring in some of their stuff.
Lauren Cobb said they would love a tournament.
All right. Good.
They're coming out too, so that'll be fun. Yeah, I'll get together with my students and find out, where they want, do a tournament, I think for the California boat show, the international show, we could do something where, they mix it all together, where it's a slight tournament for the students, People's Choice Awards, and then we do the seminars where each of the students puts on something that they've learned, they've mastered, they want to show off what they do. Then at the same time, they've got their rods that they've built between now and April in their section of the show where they can sell it. That worked very, very well last year and before on, selling rods. Get their names out. They can pass out cards. Then we also will have a little section where, there's displays of different types of components, different blanks that people can, look at and touch and feel type thing. With the, just all sorts of stuff that we do at the shows like that. We can combine it all to have maybe Dave Hansen be one of the judges. Just all sorts of things that we can do. Good idea. I like it.
And we have a marketing strategist that can help us brainstorm all of this as well, too.
Zoe, yeah.
Yeah, Zoe may have some good ideas. Boy, any of you out there need a whiz bang marketing strategist? Boy, Tiffany knows one. And
Zoe's awesome.
Ask Tiffany, and she'll give you contact information for the best in the business.
Yeah. Oh, Lisa's got the dates. March 5th through 8th is the PCS show. I knew it was March. April 9th through 12th is the Anaheim show. And I'll have to look up the West Coast show. It is in May. They've each, this is like the third year. Each year they've switched the dates, so that's why my brain's not on exact dates. But yeah, that'd be another show that we could do it too. And then then hopefully maybe in 2017 we might be doing shows on the East Coast too to help people.
2017?
Yep, that's what I was told.
Wait, that's 8 years ago.
2017.
2017. Okay.
Or 2027. Sorry, my bad. My mind is circulating on these shows of what we could do to help the students get their names out and grow their businesses and stuff. So I'm not thinking of dates, but 2027.
Okay.
My bad.
Okay. Can I tell a fishing story?
Okay.
I like fishing stories.
Is it a bad one about me from when I was little, or is this okay? Is this a funny one or a good story?
It's about you.
Oh, great.
You were all grown up.
Oh.
Working out on the boat together.
Okay.
When you build rods, you develop a tendency to really look at a rod much differently than most people look at them. Watch people when they pick up a rod. Everybody picks up a rod, holds it away from their eyes, and they want to look down those guides, I suppose, to make sure they're neatly in a row. That's almost universal. But people that build rods, they know those guys are in a row. They don't do that. What they look at is, besides the artwork on the rod, is they look at the wrapping that holds the guides on. And especially if you're out there and you are a captain or crew member on a charter boat or open party boat, or just a real busy and knowledgeable private boat that takes a lot of friends and relatives and customers and whatnot out, you really tend to do that. And it was always amusing to me to watch Tiffany do that out on the water. People would be fishing, she'd be looking at their rods and the art and but she'd always look at those guides. And there were times when I'd see her kind of take someone's rod and set it down and put a different rod in their hand, and I'd look over at that rod and I'd see that, you know, 3 of those guides were really loose and wobbly and starting to come off, and the resin over them was old and coloring was off, and there's cracks in it and whatnot. And I'm remembering one time when one of our passengers had a nice thresher shark on, which Tiffany later wrestled on the deck. Wrestling thresher sharks was always her favorite thing to do. But this guy had this on, and this shark was hot, and it was just heading for tall timber. And this guy was bending that rod as much as he could, put as much pressure on that, because he didn't have very heavy line on that rod. He was working with like about 40-pound line, 30 or 40, you know, and this was a shark that was, you know, like well over 100 pounds. And so as he's bending that rod, Tiffany's standing beside him, guiding him along, talking to him, coaching him along. And I see her looking at the eyes. And so that got me to looking at the eyes from the bridge. And I could see that up near the bend of the rod, there was one that was just cracking and getting really bad at the base of the guides. And the guides was starting to lift up from the back. And I'm thinking, if that guide goes, it's going to run up, jam against the next guide, and it's just going to tear up some line. And with that big thresher on there and that weak line, there goes that thresher. So I see Tiffany looking at that, and she steps over real quick, reaches inside the cabin, comes out with this real thick thread. It was almost cord. It was real thick thread. And she tells the guy, okay, point the rod straight at the shark. The guy says, but he's going to take line. Yeah. Point the rod straight at the shark now. And if you say now, just right, people do things. Okay. And she had that. So it was the command, Tiffany, there. And he pointed the rod, and she backed him up, and she went out there. And from underneath the rod, while this shark is pulling line out, she's up there wrapping line over that and doing this sort of half thing underneath and wrapping another one. And from underneath that rod, in the middle of a battle with a thresher shark, she secured that guide, and it never came off, and that shark came in.
Boy, was it ugly, though. It was ugly.
You know, it may not have been your most artistic job, but it caught the shark.
Yeah, it was scary because, you know, when people bring their rods on the boat, they don't, the weekend warriors, or should I say the yearly warriors, the ones that come out once or twice a year, you know, they have their rods in the garage somewhere. They don't
under UV light, probably really hard on everything.
And they don't check their equipment when they're bringing it out. Now, the old school guys, like, you know, us and whatnot, we're always checking the gear. We're checking it all the time. We check the reels, we check the guides, we check everything, making sure everything is intact with rods that we haven't used in a long time because we got stuck on using this rod instead of that one, and now it's time to use that one. You know, it just amazes me that they don't check their equipment, so they come on the boat and a guide's popped off. Or where's your rod tip? Where's the tip? Or one scenario was like he had no butt on there, or half of a butt, because I guess a rat in the garage or something ate it or something. It's like really weird, bizarre stuff comes on the boat, and you got to figure out how to fix it so the customer has a good time fishing. And it's not, I mean, it would have been horrible if that guide had a popped, made that line, you know, not in the contrast it's supposed to be. The line would snap, they'd lose that shark, and then it's our fault at the end, you know. When it was like they had brought bad stuff on board. It's been sitting in there. It could have been their great grandfather's rod or something. Instead of getting it fixed or learning how to fix it or something, they bring it on and something happens. It's always going to be the captain's fault. That's what it feels like.
I think if that guide had come loose, what would have ended up happening is every guide from there on out to the end would just be ripped off suddenly as the line then popped and we lost the shark.
Yeah. Or I would have been sitting there holding it with my fingers. Like that one time I was like.
Could be. Yeah. Here, I'll tie it. Yeah. So we always have 2 or 3 rods of ours, boat rods, set up, ready to just put in someone's hands immediately. So, you know, when you're going fishing, folks, take a look at your rods and remember to check the wrap on the feet of the guides and make sure they're good and solid. And if you do it like a day or two in advance, you actually have time to just at least do a quick fix and put some more wraps and resin and turn that overnight, and then you can go fishing with it, and you can do the bigger job of refurbishing the rod later on. Because a lot of your rods that you take out there, these are, if it's getting that old, it tells me that that's a rod you really like, and you'd like to keep fishing with it. And so, you know, we talk a lot about building rods, and that can start with a new blank. But if you've got a favorite old blank that you know exactly how it bends, you know exactly how it delivers its load up pressure when you're casting or whatever, and it's just, you're comfortable with that, you can fish better with that rod, then it's really worth just stripping that thing down. And this is part of what Tiffany teaches in her classes, and just strip them down, rebuild. You can take it down to the blank and start, you know, from the butt to the tip and everything in between, and rebuild that thing and bring back to life just a beloved old fishing rod that's just going to hum and sing and catch fish for you all over again for the next bunch of years.
It looks like, on a different topic, it looks like probably next show or the show after, I'll be starting to build Captain David Hansen's rods. Don't tell him. It's a secret. But one of them is going to be, you know, the ReelQuick reel seats that have been up and coming. We're going to have ReelQuick reel seats on there. So it's going to look pretty cool, wholly different dynamics. You know, finishing up with the weave on for the design, coming up with the border of the weave design, which is going to be completely different than anything anybody has, especially with his logo being a weave. It's going to be just completely different. I just have to figure out the color of the ring of the guides to go along with the whole dynamics, because it's all color coordinated. So a lot of thought, a lot of work is going into the Your Saltwater Guide blanks, or the whole setup of the rods. It's not something that's just going to be you know, thrown together or something quick. This is a lot of thought process going on to creating these unique guides. And once the whole concept is there and I've got it all together, then the rest of them will be easier to make for people.
Yeah.
Oh, Captain John Fernandez from Fernandez Charters is on here. Can't wait to work with Quick Reel Seats.
Yep.
That's going to be a fun venture.
Yeah. You know, these rods that you're going to start building for Captain Dave, one thing I really like is how much work the two of you are putting into it behind the scenes before you get started, which is when you want to do all of your planning.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of it is, you know, your designs waiting for you to come up with all of that. And I like the way this is being well planned and managed before the actual building begins, because that's going to make it just a rod that we all end up loving fishing with.
It's been a blessing, though, you know, recovering from the surgery. I can't really dive into building this much. So I was able to take this time, you know, with being able to teach the classes and then coming up with the whole design of what I want his rods to look like, because this is different. It's not, you know, a customer telling me I want this, I want that, and a whole schematic thing that I have to go by. I was told, do what you want, make it good. So I'm like, oh boy, this is dangerous.
That's the best set of instructions you could ask for, you know.
Any rod builder, when you tell a rod builder,
go
what you want.
For it.
Any rod builder that's told that, they're like, yes, I like this guy.
You know, if I can tell another story.
Uh-oh.
This one is more about rod building, but than rod using. But I remember in the tackle store, which we owned and ran for years, Tiffany's building rods, and I walk by and I see her using a set of colors that I'd never seen her do anything like that before. I said, well, that's an interesting choice of colors. And she said, yep, I got a goal. I'm making the ugliest rod ever in the history of the world. And I looked at her, thought about that a minute, and I said, you're setting yourself up for failure, Tiffany. Why is that? She said, because no matter what you build, somebody's going to love it. And so she finished building this ugliest rod in the world. It was gaudy. It was wild. It was out of line. You know? And she finished it, it dried, she put it on the rod rack, somebody walked in, bought it.
No.
And she looks at me with her hands on her hips. I'm going, nobody's supposed to like that rod. Back to the drawing board, Tiffany.
I'm still working on the
Ever
ugliest
since
rod in
then,
the world.
she has built, I can't tell you how many ugliest rods in the world. And interestingly, they are often like the very first ones to sell. I've often wondered about that. I have a theory. I think people that fish the open party fishing boats really like to buy them, because when you glance down the side of the cabin and all those rods in a row, yours is just right there and it's obvious. And if at the end of the day, let's be realistic about some people. There's some pirates out there. And sometimes people will walk off with rods that might not necessarily be their own. And if somebody is walking off the boat with the ugliest rod in the world, you're going to notice that. And you're going to say, that's my rod because it's the ugliest rod in the world. It ain't yours. Okay. So, I don't know if I want to throw this out to all of you rod builders as a challenge, but you may find that it's a really interesting experiment to try and build the ugliest rod in the world, because somebody's going to think it's the most beautiful rod in the world. So there's a challenge to think about.
I'm still working on the ugliest rod in the world. I'll come up with the ugliest rod in the world part 3 or 337 for the next show. I'll come up with some wild colors, wild look, wild everything on it. And I will die if it sells in the first hour again, like the last one.
Yeah. Well, I'm remembering people would walk in, because somebody bought it immediately. People would walk in and start saying, hey, I know you had really wild rods too. I'm not seeing any of those. You got all these real pretty ones, but where's the wild ones I've heard you build? And so she would be in there trying to build more of the similar or the same ugliest rods in the world because there was a demand for them.
Absolutely. I think, I don't know, I'd like to hear from everybody of if each person would look, back up a little bit here. What I used to do would ask 5 people a color, and they'd give me a color. Then I'll take those 5 colors and create something with it. So if each person in class or, emails me or something, a color, then I'll take, like, if I have like 100 emails with the different colors, I'll take the top 5 colors that were recommended and I'll make something out of that and hopefully come up with something ugly.
Yeah, it doesn't always have to be everyone's most glamorous, wonderful, artistic work. I mean, sometimes you can make a Halloween rod. I mean, where do you go with that one? And what's the date today? Today's the 16th. Well, you got just enough time to find out, because Halloween's 2 weeks away. See what you can do, But yeah, Halloween would be one way to get wild. Thanksgiving kind of has its own set of colors and whatnot. I guess the one that would have the least surprise is what you would do building a Valentine's Day rod, But don't just go only with all this beautiful, expressive, creative work. Also, get out there and get messy with wild stuff, and just make dazzling rods that everyone looks at for all kinds of different reasons. Why? Best reason of all, it's fun. And you'll still catch fish.
Yep. We had a question here from John Stanley asking, when will the YSWG rods be available? Good question. As soon as I can get them done, then they'll be available. So, as with rod building, I don't give people a time frame anymore of when things are going to get done, especially when it comes to a new concept. This is going to be a rod that nobody in the world has. It's got, a whole dynamics of different things I'm putting together with it that is unique and different. time consuming, and also understand that my speed right now, of which I can build, is nothing where it used to be. I'm building it back up speed wise. But since the surgery, that I had spinal surgery just a few months ago, I am not able to do what I was able to do before the surgery. It's getting better. I'm getting there, but my speed is very slow, and I'm only allowed to wrap for a certain amount of time per day. In rod builders that know how much it takes to set something up, it takes me a few days to set up one thing to be able to do, because of the amount, the minute amount of time I'm allowed to set up or stand up or anything. So as soon as I can get it done, it's probably going to be a few months before it's going to be available. But again, I'm not going to say the exact date or time yet. Dave will be the one to announce it.
Tiffany is in physical therapy now, and it's going really well. So she's gone through the initial healing and don't do nothing part, and now she's in physical therapy where she's rapidly gaining back her movements and strength, back strength, and all of that. So she'll be able to do a lot more very soon. But is it fair to say, Tiffany, that kind of the big goal is to have them ready for the shows?
Yes.
Okay. Then that's as good as an answer as we got, folks.
And as far as the physical therapy, I call it Chinese torture. They make you do things that you're not supposed to do. Chinese torture. So I hope that answered your question, John. We'll have them ready before show. That's the big goal. We could have it done before that. It just all depends on what the next month or two brings me with rod building. Does anybody have any questions on what I was showing on the reverse chevron wrap? Because I know Dave's probably going to come on pretty soon here. So if anybody has any questions on anything with the reverse chevron, ask away.
I got a question.
Oh God.
The one of your diagrams that you had Captain Dave put up there was of this one large, magnificent looking design, right? And so do you sometimes look at putting like one large one on a rod, or is it always a series of them? And is it always like all the way around the rod, or just along the top, or what are your options there?
You can do different lengths. You can do different sizes. You can do, like, for instance, if you use size A thread, it's going to be slightly smaller than a size D thread. If you make your marks further apart, it's going to be more elongated. If you make your marks where you're going to do your wraps closer together, like a 1/2 inch, it's going to make it be, I call it short and stubby. So you can change the look on it and the length of it. Wrapping it all the way around from one end to the other, you have to do it that way on a cross wrap. You can't just make it, weave it and then put it on, well, you could weave it and then roll it on to your blank and just have one, but it's a whole different concept than a cross wrap. There's lots of different things you can do with the reverse chevron as well as the chevrons, but each thing is a different concept than a cross wrap.
Got it. Thank you.
Nobody tell Captain Dave Hansen our secret.
Can't hear you, Dave.
Okay, there you go. We're all good. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed Dave and Tiffany today. I'm sorry I wasn't with you. We've caught probably 100 sand bass in an hour here. It's hard to believe that there's an entity out there that wants to shut down sand bass. We've made a ton of videos. Highly migratory fish, gang. Highly migratory fish that lives down here, and there's literally 10 billion of them down here. You just stop anywhere on the flats here in 80 to 90 feet of water, and you catch 1 million sand bass. It's absolutely unbelievable. One after the other, we're catching them full speed. I want to thank you all for coming on today, watching the show. Thank Dave and Tiffany for putting on the show today. I really appreciate both of you guys. As usual, you guys fall right in perfect. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you for having us.
All right, gang. We will be back with you tomorrow. We're going to have Bonnie Brady with us. She's going to be talking about all the windmills and all the, well, we know they're not windmills, but they want you to believe they're windmills, but they're planning on building it still right here in Long Beach, California, gang. These are going to be devastating to the fishing industry like nobody even understands. There is no such thing as green energy. There is no such thing. If you're living in that fantasy land, you got to pull your head out of your rear end, gang, because there is no. But we'll have Bonnie on here tomorrow, and she'll be telling you why and how. But for now, thank you very much. I'm going to go catch some more fish. Have a great day. See you later, Dave. Bye.